Gear up, Scooter fam. Today I thought I'd jump in and talk a little bit about range. Prior I did a video looking at how much money you would have to spend to get a certain top speed miles per hour. So I thought I'd go ahead and do one similar, but how much money do you have to spend to get 20 miles, 30 miles, so forth. So very similar. Instead of saying the best range for the money, we're going to look at the best money for the range, so to speak. So we're going to break it down by, okay, we want to go 20 miles. What's the best price I can get for a scooter that will go at least 20 miles? So here we go. And at the top of the list, this scooter shows up at the top of the list in this price point quite a lot because it does everything very well. It has decent range. It has decent top speed. It's dual motor. It just, as far as performance, I can't say enough about it. In any case, at the moment, the Hover 1 Journey Max is $391. It does get 20 miles of range tested. Now, it's stated here 16 to 26 miles of range. I ride it around in full sports mode, top mode, both motors, all the time, going as fast as I need to go at that time, and I get about 18 or so miles of range before the acceleration drops. Now, I possibly could get another mile and a half or so, I'm sure, but I don't like to cut it that close. When I start noticing the drop in range, that's when I consider it, the end of usable range when it drops in acceleration. So, still, once again, $391, spectacular price point for this scooter. If you're interested, once again, nothing special, no app, no shocks, suspension of any kind. Tubed tires that are a real pain to change, but for the money, and like I said, performance, range, speed, tough to beat at that price. In the same category, we have the VMAX VX5 Pro. Sorry, this is the Pro VX5 GT Pro GT. So the GT version gets 22 miles of range. That has been tested. And it's $429. So it does get a little further range than the Hover 1 Journey Max. Keep in mind, though, you're only getting a single motor and slower speed. I believe the top speed is 18 miles an hour on the VX5 Pro. So you lose a little bit in speed. You don't get the hill climbing power, but you get a tad bit more range, a couple of miles. Your call on that, but just you know what my recommendation would be. I'm all for the dual motor scooters, so something to keep in mind. All right, so next up, the next category is going to be 30 miles of range or more. What is the best deal we can get for that? We're going to start off with the Emu Cruiser S from Voro Motors. It gets up to 43 miles tested. It says 62 here, but tested at 43. That's going top speed, of course. So that one tests pretty well. Once again, it's a single motor. For $1,200, it's not a bad deal. I've seen it at $1,095 right before the V2 dropped, and I thought that was a really decent deal. But personally, you guys know my feeling on the single motor scooters. So that's it on that. It does get decent range, but it's a single motor scooter. In the same category, we have the Wolf Warrior X. Once again, this is one of my favorite scooters. Both of these scooters are the same price at $14.99. So once again, the Wolf Warrior X is a dual motor. It only gets 33 miles of tested range, which is about 10 miles less than the Emu Cruiser S. However, I will point out that this scooter is dual motor and also that it gets about 10, it runs about 10 more miles per hour or more tested. So it's got a higher top speed. So if you consider that, and if you kind of weigh them out equally, like you're only going to be going, let's say 30 miles an hour on the Emu Cruiser S, and let's say you lower your speed so that it's equal to 30 miles an hour, you're going to get more than 33 miles of range because you're not going at top speed. So while I think it's important to include the top speed miles range, if you're comparing two scooters where one goes faster than the other, it's not going to be the same. It's like comparing the range on this my Nami Klima to my Hover One Journey Max. They both test at 20 something miles of range. However, I get a lot more range out of the Klima, like by far, like 3 times as much at the same speeds. So maybe even a little bit higher speeds on the Klima. So I can get about 3 times more range on the Klima so far, roughly, since I've been testing it. And so, even though if you look at them side by side on their range, they're fairly close, but not really at the same speed. So you have to take that into account. So consider that the Wolf Warrior X is considerably faster than the Emu Cruiser S, and if you run them at the same speed, you likely get very similar results in range, I would expect. For the next category, we have 45 miles plus of range, so anything that's 45 miles or over. The Nami Burn E2, we start off with at $2,699, $2,700, which is a really decent price for this scooter, and it does get almost 50 miles of range, tested range. 49 is what it comes out to. So roughly 50 miles of range per charge for the Nami Burn E2 for $2,700, which I think is a decent deal for that scooter. In the same category, we have the Wolf King GT, and that one is $29.99 and gets 55 miles of range. So a little bit further range. I'm sure it goes quite a bit faster, say over 60 miles per hour, where I think the Burn E does maybe 50, something like that. So the Wolf Warrior is faster, and it does get a little more range. So if you consider once again that you took the Wolf Warrior King GT down to the fastest speed of the Burn E, it already beats it, so it would be quite a bit different in range. So range and speed, the Wolf Warrior King definitely beats out the Burn E2. However, the Burn E2 is a couple $300 cheaper at $2,699. So I like them both at this price point. Burn E2 might be a little bit better deal, considering I'm never going to need to go 50 miles at one time, and probably 55 miles an hour or whatever it is probably fast enough for me. Now we have the 60 mile plus range. Starting off, we have the InMotion RS, which has been tested at 60 miles of range. I think it states 100 miles of range, but tested, yeah. So 100 miles of range stated, about 60 miles of range tested. And so for $39.99, this scooter is a pretty nice scooter for $4,000, and like I said, it gets 60 miles of tested range, a decent speed. I believe it's about 60 miles an hour as well. So that's a really good deal. The InMotion RS at the moment, it's not a good deal. It's a fine price. It's probably worth it, but I wouldn't call it a deal, to be honest. All right, and then we have in the same category here, the Nami Burn E2 Max. It has dropped $100 to $38.99, making it a little bit more attractive for Black Friday. It also has been tested at 60 miles of range, just like the InMotion RS. So, comparing the two, they're pretty similar. It kind of just depends on the style and what you like. I believe they have a very similar top speed. It might not be quite 60 for the Burn E2, Burn E2 Max, but probably get a little bit higher top speed with the InMotion RS, but probably pretty close. And then the Burn E2 Max, $100 cheaper. So take that into consideration. They're both high performance scooters, so it's hard to go wrong with either one of these two, but you're going to be paying about $4,000 to get 60 miles of range. All right, and not to be outdone, we go to the longest range scooter that I know of, which is the Dualtron X Limited, which gets 85 miles of tested range for about $6,000. And if you got $6,000 to spend on a scooter and you want 85 miles of range, this will be your scooter. I probably would never buy this scooter, but it is cool, and it's cool that it gets 85 miles of range. So let's talk about range a little bit and give my final thoughts. I suppose range, as far as your day-to-day, range is only needs you to go, one day at a time, one trip at a time. On the Hover One Journey Max, I could take 2 trips of my normal trips and charge every 2 trips. With the Nami Klima, I can take about 6 trips and have to recharge every 5 or 6 trips. And so, but I don't really need to, since I can recharge every day, my average trip is only 8 to 10 miles. I only need to really go, say 15 miles at a time before I need to charge again. So does it matter that I had 20 miles of range? It's nice. It's nice to know I have that if I need it. If I need to go some extra places, but I rarely go. Like I took the 11-mile trip the other day. I'm not going to do too many more trips other than that. That's just me, though. Some people have a 10-mile commute each way to work, and so they don't want to have to charge their scooter at work. So they need at least 20 miles to get them there. There's other people that take these long group rides, which they go like 20, 40 miles at a time. And if you don't have a scooter that can go that far, you'll get left behind and you'll be left stuck on the side of the road. So, I hear that for those longer rides, it's nice to have a scooter with more than enough range so you don't, have that range anxiety. A lot of the trips will stop and eat and charge up their scooters. Although you got to have some really fast charging. I have a fast charger here, but it takes me 5 hours to get the scooter fully charged. So if I if I took an hour to eat, I'm only going to charge like 20% of my battery, which will get me about at the speed that I go, another 10 miles. It's not bad, but it's probably not 10 miles back if I lost all my all my battery. So if I start with a full battery, it's not going to do me any good to charge it for an hour and get 10 more miles out of it, likely. But anyway, so if you need to go on those long trips and you want to do these long group rides, or you have an extra long commute to work, most people wouldn't. If you've got to ride your scooter more than 10 miles at a time every single day, probably just get a car. 10 to 15 miles a day on a scooter. I mean, one way, of course. Like I said, if you go to work and come back, you know, you might need 20, 30 miles of range for sure. But just a daily commute, I can't really see you needing more than, like I said, 20 to 30 miles. But a 10 to 15 mile trip on a scooter is plenty. Guys, that's going to do it. If you enjoyed this content and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And happy riding.